Namibian police and military firearms. Government-issued weapons are flooding across the border to South Africa, into Cape Town and ending up in the hands of violent gangs who leave thousands dead every year. All of this is facilitated by the Namibian police. This isn't just like any other crime story. It is about state-issued weapons stolen from Namibia's own armories and trafficked through our borders and unleashed on the streets of Cape Town, where gang violence is already spiraling more and more out of control every single year. Earlier this month, the Global Initiative Against Transnational Organized Crime sounded the alarm. Police and military weapons smuggled across our northwestern border from Namibia are finding their way into the hands of the violent gangs of Cape Town. And in its latest edition of the Western Cape Gang Monitor, the organization confirmed that 9 suspects appear in Windhoek Court in late August, facing 16 counts of theft. What theft, you might ask? Stealing weapons, including AK-47s and M16s from a Namibian military stockpile and moving them across the border into South Africa, into Cape Town. This revelation is not an isolated incident. The South African Police Service, together with Namibian Police, NAMPOL, has been investigating the smuggling of these Namibian state-issued weapons since as far back as 2020 during the COVID lockdown, when a traffic stop on our soil led to the chance discovery of pistols originating from the Namibian police force. How did these weapons move undetected? The guns are ferried across the border inside trucks carrying fresh produce such as fruits, flowers and other fresh goods. Goods with short shelf lives. The perishable cargo provides the perfect cover. Consignments that must move quickly, giving smugglers a convenient excuse to bypass through inspections that would take up too much time. The report sets out disturbing testimonies from both gang members in Cape Town and investigators in Namibia. Namibia has been cited as a source of firearms since at least 2018, with trafficking intensifying in the years that followed. By early 2021, gangs were speaking openly of regular shipments consisting of dozens of assault weapons at a time coming from Namibia. Some trucks were even fitted with secret compartments, each load capable of concealing at least 15 to 20 assault rifles. At the heart of this operation are companies trading in fresh goods between South Africa and neighboring countries. Businesses acting as conduits for smugglers inside Namibia. One of the 9 accused in Windhoek was, in fact, an employee of a South African trucking company now alleged to have been complicit in the cross-border movement of these firearms. And then came the most damning revelation. A leaked August 2023 memo from a Namibian police commissioner disclosed that several pistols seized in South Africa bore the engraving NPW, Namibian Police Weapon, even though the serial numbers had been filed off. What emerges from this latest report is nothing short of chilling. For years, Namibian state weapons, pistols, M16s and AK-47s alike have been smuggled into South Africa to fuel the arsenal of Western Cape gangs. To understand the true danger of these smuggled weapons, we must look at the scale of gang violence already tearing the Western Cape apart. In just the first 3 months of 2025, the police recorded 1,028 murders, an average of more than 11 people killed every single day, and more than half of these killings were carried out with firearms, all of them on the Cape Flats. Of those deaths, 208 were officially recorded as gang-related, and 197 of them occurred within the city of Cape Town alone. In fact, more than 80% of gang violence in South Africa occurs in the Western Cape. And there seems to be no end to this violence. Just in the past week, we read about another 3 people being gunned down in Mitchells Plain. And on top of all of this, the most recent statistics indicate that the Western Cape murder rate has jumped by an astonishing 18% over the past year alone. It is into this climate of entrenched violence that smuggled military-grade firearms are flowing, amplifying a death toll that is already counted in the thousands. Yet, despite having one of the highest rates of gang violence in the world, South Africa, and specifically the Western Cape, is actually not drowning in legally owned guns as some would want us to believe. There are so many attacks on legal firearm owners in South Africa saying that this will somehow stop all of this gun violence, when in all actuality, legal gun owners in South Africa is a very small group, and private legal gun owners even smaller. According to a recent small arms survey, the country has about 9.7 guns per 100 people, less than half the global average, including all those liberal countries like Canada and all the countries in Europe, of 19 per 100. That places South Africa as 89th in the world for civilian firearm ownership, far below dozens of nations with far less violent crime. Countries like Switzerland, Denmark, Finland and Canada, among others, have much higher firearm ownership than South Africa. In fact, the total number of civilian firearms here, around 3.8 million licensed weapons, has actually been declining rapidly since the mid-2000s. Legal firearm ownership in this country is actually relatively modest by international standards, and is even shrinking by the year. The real problem is that government-issued weapons stolen and smuggled across our borders are flowing directly into the gangs of Cape Town's arsenals. And this is where the authorities themselves stand exposed, because every pistol marked NPW, every AK-47 stripped from the Namibian military stockpile is proof of not private excess, but of government failure. A failure of authorities to maintain basic law and order, a failure of border control, indeed a failure of state to protect its citizens from the very weapons it once issued. The truth is plain for everyone to see. It is not the average South African with a licensed gun who is drawing gang violence in the Cape. It is the complicity of those who look the other way as convoys of Namibian weapons slip across the border, arming killers and leaving families to bury their dead. In fact, this story even makes a case for arguing that guns in the hands of the authorities is much more dangerous than guns in the hands of private citizens. This is, after all, the very reason why the Second Amendment was adopted in the United States in the first place. Ratified in 1791, the Second Amendment was written in the aftermath of the War of Independence, where ordinary citizens had taken up arms against a government that abused its power. Its core safeguard was clear: the right of the people to keep and bear arms, precisely so that state power could never again become a tool of oppression or neglect, as we are seeing right here. But that is exactly what is happening in South Africa today. The state has failed to guard its own armories, failed to secure its borders, and failed to shield its citizens from violence unleashed by its negligence. The result is that thousands of South Africans lie dead, slain, not by a flood of privately owned weapons, but by government-issued guns stolen in Namibia and carried unchecked into our communities. Every funeral in Mitchells Plain, every child caught in crossfire in Hanover Park, every headline of another mass shooting in the Cape Flats is a direct consequence of this failure. And unless those responsible are held to account, the coffins will keep stockpiling up while the state continues to arm the very gangs it claims to be fighting. As a final thought, allow me the following supposition. During the constitutional debates of the mid-90s, there was a proposal on the table to reform the Northern Cape province into an Afrikaner Boer homeland. Just imagine how many tens of thousands of lives could have been saved in the Cape Flats in Cape Town if border control along the Orange River and the Namibian frontier has been enforced with the sternness and sovereignty characteristic of a Boer republic dedicated to maintaining its demographic identity. Here at the Willem Petzer Group, we work hard to expose institutional state failures such as these that are letting the citizens of this country down. Reports such as this one can serve to draw the necessary attention to an issue that is leading to more deaths in the Western Cape every single day. In another recent video, we also outlined why it is important for all South Africans to continue saving lives by means of legally armed self-defense. Check out the report right here by clicking on the link appearing on your screen. This is why we need to keep doing what we are doing. And for this, we count on your support of our work by becoming a paid member of the Willem Petzer Group. Simply follow the easy steps on the banner at the bottom of your screen. Goodbye and God bless.